Grab a drink with Marnes and I because a new episode of Silo means new clues, theories, and having to deal with my terrible dad jokes. For those of you new to these videos, this is not a traditional recap of the episode, rather a deep dive into all the mysteries, clues, and where they could go. As always, I've left timestamps below to all the topics I'll be covering. Keep in mind, I have not read the books, so there won't be any book spoilers, and any trailer sleuthing I'll leave till the end of the video. Now grab your Silo suits, it's time for us to go outside. This episode focused a lot on Juliette's past, specifically her relationship with her father, Dr. Nicholls, who we met last episode. But I can't help but get the feeling there's way more to this relationship than meets the eye. All we know so far is that both her brother and mother died when she was 13 years old. In episode 2, it was hinted that the mother may have committed suicide after the loss of her son, Jacob, who we see here suffering from what might be an illness. Notice that we never find out exactly how he got into this situation. When we open on him, we're right in the middle of the action, and Jacob's lips are purple, suggesting he's been without oxygen for some time. We learn the mother's name is Hannah, which also happens to be the title for episode 8, so I'm expecting some more backstory with her later on. Hannah also seems to be leading her son's recovery, giving out orders to her husband and Juliette, even though her husband is a doctor, which leads me to believe she's a doctor too, or someone who's been through this situation with Jacob many times before. Later in the episode, we flash forward to after the deaths of Hannah and Jacob, and Juliette blames her father for the way things are now.
This is the way things are now.
Because of you!
I don't know about you guys, but that made me think he was somehow involved in one or both of their deaths. Not in a malicious way, but perhaps did something that could have made things worse. This is part of what spurs Juliette's fascination with fixing things. She was told early on that the broken chair couldn't be fixed, but defiantly proves her father wrong. How can Juliette believe her father couldn't fix her mother and brother when she fixed something he said wasn't fixable? There's also this exchange.
I'm happy I really don't have time to think about Mom or Jacob.
Or me.
Juliette's silence here is deafening. Something else definitely had to have gone on. In my episode 3 video, I highlighted all the theories of who poisoned Mayor Ruth, with the poisoned water bottle being my number 1. I also suggested that perhaps Ruth wasn't the intended target, and Marnes seems to think so too. His theory is that while he and the mayor were spending the night in the mids, someone poisoned their bottles, and if it hadn't been for a leak in his, he'd be dead too. After all, Ruth is beloved by all, while Marnes has numerous people who hold grudges against him after years enforcing the law. Now, it's still possible this could be a misdirect and that Mayor Ruth was the intended target due to her insistence that Juliette be the next sheriff, but the dialogue here was really pushing for that theory to be dispelled.
You're saying she wasn't the target?
Plus, someone attacks Marnes at the end of the episode, suggesting this person is here to finish the job. But I'll get more into this guy in another section. So, who poisoned Mayor Ruth? Or should I say, who intended to poison Marnes? My money is still on someone in the judicial, but we honestly weren't given too many clues. With Juliette taking over Holston's apartment, we finally get to see what he hid there from episode 1. Tied to a fishing line are the files on George Wilkins, files which Sandy told her judicial didn't have any record of. I zoomed in and analyzed all the papers, but nothing of note came from my investigation, so they're probably saving what clues are in these files for Juliette to discover next episode. I also noticed that it doesn't appear that the hard drive is in this bag. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm basing this solely on the way she plops down the bag after taking the files out. The end of the episode sees an unwelcome visitor attack a drunk Deputy Marnes. From the end credits using process of elimination and IMDb, we can see this belongs to a character named Douglas Trumbull, someone we haven't met yet. There's a lot that's really weird about this scene. If this guy is here to assassinate Marnes, why not just do it as soon as he came into the room with the shotgun? It's implied that his shotgun was already taken, since when Marnes goes searching for it, it's not in his gun cabinet. Trumbull already has it in his possession, and even when he has it pointed at Marnes, he doesn't shoot. And let's say he didn't have a shotgun at all. He has no weapon, no knife, knife, nothing. Now, is this just a case of the show putting in a fight scene because it would be exciting? Who knows, but it ends with the assailant holding Marnes at gunpoint. What I'm wondering is if this guy is the person who was supposed to kill Marnes in the first place, or if this is someone hired by Sims to off Marnes so that Juliette is kicked off the force. Earlier in the episodes, Sims says that if Marnes and the new interim mayor Bernard agree, they can have Juliette fired, leaving the decision for a new sheriff up to Judge Meadows. And we all know Judge Meadows wants her own yes man in that spot. But what Sims doesn't know is that Marnes has already made a deal with Juliette. If he helps her find who killed George, she'll help him find who killed Ruth. So Marnes tells Sims that Juliette, quote, deserves more time to screw up. And just a quick reminder before we get into more stuff, if you like these videos, consider liking and subscribing. It really helps the channel out. This episode also sees the introduction of Lucas. He's actually in 2 scenes. The first where he has no lines, but you can see him transfixed on the screen. The second scene, he introduces himself to Juliette and refers to her name being from a play, Romeo and Juliet, and that it may have been written by a rebel. Honestly, this scene doesn't advance the plot at all, and you could take it out entirely without it affecting the story. So my guess is that this is setting up something much bigger to come. Why is he so interested in what's on that screen? And it looks as though he's drawing or taking notes too. Check out my trailer section for more info about him. I don't know about you guys, but something just rubbed me the wrong way with how Sandy treated Juliette. I mean, I get that Juliette was thrust into this new position, taking the place of someone who is much beloved, but she just had an instant hate on for Juliette. Makes me think there's something deeper here. We also have Martha Walker uncovering something from the camcorder which Juliette gave her last episode. She has it hooked up to her computer, suggesting she can either pull data or actual video from it. We did see in episode 1 in the Jane Carmody file that computers in the silo can play video, so my guess is that this, combined with George's files, will be vital in Juliette's pursuit of the truth. 2 things that were brought up this episode but we learned nothing new of is Holston's badge, which says the word truth, also the title of this episode. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the last we hear of it, as its main purpose seems to have been to get Juliette to take the job. Regardless, she still wants to keep the badge when Sandy says she could take it. Juliette also finds Holston's note, double the flowers in front of the mirror. But in regards to this, nothing really new is brought to light as to what it could mean. Now we get to the part where we check out the teaser and trailer to see if there are any new clues. I won't be going over every shot, of course, only the ones that pertain to new information we picked up this episode. Here we can see the interim mayor Bernard officiating a funeral of 2 people. We know that Mayor Ruth is dead, and the way we left Marnes wasn't looking good. Marnes isn't visible in the wide shot either, so maybe this is Ruth and Marnes. Here's Lucas again, and it looks like he's helping Juliette notice something on the screen. Is she holding one of his drawings or notes? But it looks like Lucas may be of some help uncovering the mystery. My first thought is that this scene has something to do with the position of the stars, since they're so bright here, but who knows? With this shot, knowing these are Juliette's tattoos, she does indeed get her hands on that hard drive. And Juliette is here with her crying father, so it looks as though we may get more information regarding these 2 and some reconciliation between them. Now I turn it over to you. I want to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and for more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember,
Someone's always got a theory about why a machine breaks. I deal with facts.